YouTube, and we have 2 people waiting to get in. I'm going to post the live YouTube link to Facebook, and then we can get started if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready whenever.
Who's am I going first? Who's talking first?
I mean, I'll introduce the session, and then if you want to take over with announcements, Ken, that'd be great. But if we have a small amount of people here, we can just have them introduce themselves if they feel comfortable doing that.
All right.
Steven, I'm going to mute you for the moment. All right, we're live. I'm going to mute that out. Ken, do you see the live stream now on YouTube?
I do, yeah.
Are you able to access the chat on the right?
Yeah, I'll welcome everyone.
Cool. All right, let me show this on. Let's see, we got 3 people. We got Tim. I'll let some people in now.
Is this our art, music, and technology, or is this Ableton users only?
It's open to everybody. So I see Tim.
Hi.
Hey. Hey, Tim.
Hey, what's going on?
Is that Tim Huss?
Yeah,
How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Yeah, good, good. Yeah, we're just getting started, so people are arriving.
Nice.
And I see Judd. Hey, Judd. You're muted right now, so we can't hear you, but you're welcome to. I got you.
There you go.
Welcome. What brings you here?
Well, I'm a guitar player and I use, I've tried different software, but I think Ableton sounded to be probably the best.
Okay, nice.
It's not too difficult to use. And so I decided I'd stay in this meeting here and see what I can learn about Ableton.
Cool. All right. Well, we're definitely going to be talking about that today.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
just
to
going
meet you too.
just going to mute you again, and then is it Onaru? Is that the correct? Sorry, mate. Go ahead. I think we both clicked the unmute button at the same time. He's still talking. Hold on. There you go. You're good.
Hey, it's Tim Carroll.
Oh, it's Tim.
Yeah, hey.
You're just your tiny little box, and I couldn't make it out that it was you.
No,
So
the hair never stopped growing here. I've got a ponytail and everything now. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
well, it's good to see you. Yeah, I didn't recognize the name. What's the story there?
Rocinante is the old horse in Don Quixote, who's kind of used up but still has something left to give. Onaru is Japanese for onanism, so it was sort of like a little play on words joke for myself.
Okay,
also
cool.
to kind of mask myself from my neighbors because I'm doing something funny with the Wi-Fi here.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. It's really good to have you here, man.
Oh, thanks.
Are you faring okay? Is everyone doing all right?
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff. So we're streaming live to YouTube as well. Hopefully we'll pick up a few viewers there. The format for this is pretty simple. We're just going to keep people muted while presentations are ongoing. We have a special guest with us today, Stephen Eliska. Stephen's going to be talking about using Ableton Live with Harp. We'll introduce him later, but you can see him there. And then we have our co-host, Ken Wentz, with us as well. Ken's going to start with some announcements about our school that we usually run in person. Obviously, we're not, as Tim can tell you, we're currently working remotely. So we have some announcements that we're going to make about the school, and then I'm going to talk just for anybody like for the likes of Judd who are starting out for the first time, just a little bit about how I use Ableton with guitar. I've actually got a dulcimer that I'm going to show with Ableton, and hopefully just going to give you a taste of what it looks like to perform with it, and then that'll segue nicely into Stephen's presentation. That's the hope. We've got some more with us as well. We've got Devin and Greg. How you guys doing?
Great.
Cool. Devin, what is that background? Are you on a plane?
Yeah, currently.
That's awesome, dude. Welcome. Good to see you.
Likewise.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna get started. We're streaming live on YouTube as well. So if you want to share the links on your Facebook page or whatnot, that'd be cool. Ken's gonna kick us off with a couple of announcements. Ken.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Cleveland Art Music Technology Meetup, which will, it's one of the first announcements is that we're going to leave the Meetup platform and we're going to host everything over on Facebook from here forward. So we'll have links for that for you. So check the Facebook group if you want to stay in correspondence and keep up to date with everything that we're doing here. We won't be posting everything on Meetup because it's just been costing more money and it's not been as effective. So we're going to do that. Also, Delta Sound Labs, some of you may know, has an educational branch where we teach courses using Ableton Live. It's currently Ohio's only Ableton certified training center, and we're doing a summer session. It's going to be remote only. And if you're interested in that, I am posting right now some information into the Zoom chat that will have a link to deltasoundlabs.edu, and it also has the very last thing you see is a registration form link, so you can click on that and fill out info, and we'll have all that for you, the concrete details, by June 30th. And in that, we're going to cover things like MIDI and audio and songwriting, and some Max for Live is a quick rundown of things that we're going to cover there. Also, side note, Tim, who is with us right now in this Zoom meeting, is one of our current students. So if you have any questions about the course or what it's like, you could talk to Tim or ask him about it. And let's see. After that, yeah, so we have our we'll be using Facebook from now on. That was basically what we wanted to cover. So did I miss anything, Ricky? Are we caught up?
Yeah, could you pop in, if you're interested in joining the Facebook group, could you pop the link to the Facebook group in the chat as well,
Yeah,
Ken?
go grab that.
You can find us, it's the Cleveland Ableton user group. And apart from that, I think that's pretty much everything else. Just if you're interested in finding out more about the Certified Training Center, then just fill out the registration form. So the format, just for those of you who came in, it's going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to introduce Ableton. Just as a DAW, I'm going to share a screen. I'm going to show you a little bit of what I use with it when I perform live. And then we have a special guest with us today, Stephen Eliska. He's going to be talking about how he uses Ableton Live with harp. And then at the end, we'll take questions. If you guys want to chat amongst yourselves, we'll keep it pretty nice and informal, and hopefully we'll get something out of this. For now, if you could just keep your mics muted, but feel free to chat away in the chat in Zoom. If you want to post some questions, that's cool. We'll get to them where and when we can. If you got anybody watching on YouTube, Ken, if you could just keep an eye on the chat there, that would be awesome. But to start, I know that a good portion of you are not first-time users of Ableton. So, Ken, can you hear effects processing?
You can hear effects.
You can? Yeah, cool.
Correct.
Awesome. It's amazing when technology works the first time out of the gate. All right, so what you're looking at, folks, if you're brand new to Ableton, is Ableton Live 10. And Ableton Live 10 is like a lot of digital audio workstations on the market. It allows you to, sequence MIDI, musical instrument digital interface data. It allows you to manipulate audio samples, and it's really good for like studio production, but also performing and recording live music. And I think that's the kind of overarching theme of today's meet. And actually, I'm going to switch cameras as well. So if you can keep an eye on my camera, I'm going to switch that over to my instrument view over here. So you should see a dulcimer with a mic on it. Does everybody see that? Ken, I'm going to rely on you to kind of give me the heads up if things are. Can you see the camera?
Yeah. So you'll have to click on Ricky's user window in Zoom to see his camera with the sitar, and then you can click back to the screen share to see what it looks like on Ableton.
Yeah. So if you're interested in having a look at the actual instrument itself, I'm going to be talking over here for a minute or two just to kind of introduce you to what we have going on and how it relates to Ableton. So what you're looking at right here is a dulcimer, which you should be able to hear through just a dry mic on in Zoom. And say again?
True.
True. Okay, thanks. Wonderful. So just to talk generally about live performance with Ableton, I mean, a good way to get started is really just to think through the signal flow. So you'll see I've got a microphone clearly here. It's a condenser microphone. I'm using a Rode NT1. The mic is pointed at the resonating body of the dulcimer. And I've also got this little clip-on mic. These are actually super cheap. You can grab these by Planet Waves. They're piezo microphones with a 1/4-inch jack on the end. And they're really nice contact microphones. You can like attach them to pretty much anything. So I basically have two audio streams working here. I've got a really nice full capture from the microphone itself, picking up the instrument. And then I have this kind of more brittle sounding piezo pickup from the bridge. So two microphones, two signals running into an audio interface in Ableton. So if you look on screen at Ableton, I'm going to give us some volume here. So hopefully you can hear that. Ken, I'll look to you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. So getting audio into Ableton is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to get too bogged down in the technical details. I'm just going to talk more about what I like about Ableton and how quickly how easy it is to kind of create big textures pretty quickly. For those of you, again, who haven't used Ableton before, you can grab the 90-day full trial of the full Live 10 suite from ableton.com. And you can use all the feature sets for that period of time. So I encourage you to get it if you haven't gotten it already. And yeah, so we're looking at the session view, which is probably more unconventional when you think about any other digital audio workstation on the market. The view that people are most familiar with is the arrangement view, which is what you're looking at here, which is more linear. You know, it has this kind of like linear narrative from beginning to end, where you would record audio on tracks. You can see I've got 4 tracks here. I've got my Rode NT1 microphone input on this first track and second track. I've got a separate track for guitar pedals, and I have a synth, which you can't see, but I can promise you it's there. I'm going to turn it up just to prove the point. And that sounds pretty nasty. Ken can guess that's running through. But in any case, so I've got basically four signals running into Ableton right now in that view. So it does cater, as a piece of software, it does cater to composing in a kind of a linear way with the arrangement view there. I can go between these two just by pressing tab. For those of you who are new, I kind of feel like just being able to navigate around the interface is it's a pretty steep learning curve. So if we can try and help you unlock that in some way today, like that would be wonderful. So go ahead and post questions in the chat as I talk, and Ken, you can call those out if you think they kind of help steer the conversation. But I'm going to head back over to my camera here and just talk a little bit about some of the effects I have here on channel 3. So basically, I've got the little piezo clip-on mic that I mentioned before, right here. You should be able to hear some processing. That's running into this first pedal, which is the Super Ego by Electro Harmonics. It's really good for creating like really eerie delays and sustains. And I love it because you can create these really nice pedal points with it. So here's an example. The next in the chain is a delay. I'm using the Memory Man, again, by Electro Harmonics. Really nice for creating, again, pretty thick textures. So it's a little bit of a balancing act, just reducing the decay of this particular pedal so it doesn't get too dense, and then using some of the nice modulation features on the delay itself. And then the final stage is a mini crybaby, which is really good. If things get really dense, I can use the filter as a kind of control mechanism. And that's running directly into Ableton on this third track. So there's basically, I'm just using Ableton basically as a mixer at that point. What might be a little bit more interesting is some of the processing I can do just with VST plugins generally. So this is a Granular Sampler, and I'm taking the audio from the Rode NT1 this time. And again, this is all in real time. So I'm going to start mixing between these two. So it gives you an idea how, let me just take this out. It gives you an idea how you might be able to take in different signals from an instrument and mix them in Ableton. So you can treat the session view like a mixer, has that kind of basic functionality. But there are some native instruments that I think are really nice for live performers as well inside of Ableton, one of which is the looper that Steven's going to be talking about later. He's going to be using it for his demo set in just a moment. But what the looper allows you to do essentially is to grab audio and create large textures in a more linear fashion. So I'm going to have a go at that. Let's see. If I don't like what I've done, I can clear the buffer, which is kind of nice. I'm just noticing the tempo is pretty low here at 120 BPM. I'm going to speed that up a little bit. A couple of things I really like about this is that you can lock in, obviously, the repeat and the tempo of the looper with the live set itself. So if you wanted to sequence, say, drums or any kind of instrumental parts, you can tie that in with your live audio from your instrument. So we can tie this to a click as well, which Ableton, again, is really conducive to for live performance generally. So we can. I'm not sure if the click will pop through unless we do this.
Yeah, we can hear it.
There was a blatant disregard, obviously, for that, but you get the idea. So you can do a lot of really cool stuff with the live looper inside of Ableton itself. That's a native audio effect, which you can find on the left here under this browser section, under categories, under audio effects. Again, really good for grabbing audio on the fly and layering it. And I typically, when I perform, I'll use the looper in conjunction with Stream, the Granular Sampler that I showed you. And then I'll have a separate channel for my pedals. And then I have a separate channel for my DFAM, which is a synth, which I can just try and rotate the camera real quick without causing any seasickness. That may be easier said than done. Let's see. There we go. So if you can see, it's kind of tucked away, hiding behind my laptop at the minute. This is the DFAM. Let's move this out of the way. And it sounds pretty heavy, so. And if you can see up top here, I'm running it through a little tube unit by Audient, which is a company based in the United Kingdom. And the valve just destroys the drum signal. In a good way. So you can have these really nice, tight, controlled beats. And as you increase the valve, it just gets really, really fat. So that's a little bit about how I use Ableton Live to perform or make sounds in real time processing. And do we have any questions? Like, does anybody want to, I mean, it's not a huge group, so you could unmute your mics and maybe ask some questions. You could try that, see if that's doable.
Well, this is Judd. I just wanted to let you know that I have to leave in about 5 minutes.
Oh, sorry, Judd.
I look forward to the next meeting.
Yeah, the good news is we'll record Stephen's set and you can check it out later, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, well, thank you for joining us, Judd. Really appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Yeah, cool. Who else we got in here? Oh, Justin, hey, man. Good to see you. Cool. Well, this is a good segue point, I guess. I'm just going to flip my camera back to possibly, we'll see. I'm going to stop sharing screen. And I'd like to introduce Stephen Eliska, who hopefully is ready to chat. Hey, Stephen. Stephen, do you want to mute yourself or shall I do that?
I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Great.
Rather than me introduce you, I'm wondering, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let me pull this off. All right, yeah. So I'm a Cleveland-based harpist and improviser and experimental musician. I do like a lot of like free improvisational sort of stuff, and kind of sitting kind of, I don't know, in between that and a lot of like noise and noise ambient sort of music like that. I also teach. I have a master's degree in harp performance from Mills College, which is in Oakland, California, and studied some pretty kind of far out ways to approach playing the harp, as you will see me do today. I do a lot with prepared harp. I don't know if you're familiar with prepared piano or prepared guitar, but that involves adding objects or tools or something, to physically alter the sound and of the instrument. So I don't know if you can see it, but I have bells and little pieces of foil, and the bells are suspended on string. And I'll be playing the harp with an electric fan, which will actually be blowing the air onto the strings itself. The effect is called an Aeolian harp back in like the 1900s. They actually made little windowsill little instruments that you'd put in in your window. The wind would come in and it would resonate and create these these atmospheric drones. They also build these big sculptural kind of versions of them with using cables. Sometimes they're really big, but it's the same kind of effect. Also the same effect as the wind blowing on like an electrical line and kind of hearing that drone there. So I'll be doing that kind of effect. And then the bells and everything is, a way to enhance that, the whole physicality of it. And I'll be running all of that into Ableton. I have it mic'd with the mic I'm holding in my hand right now, and that's kind of picking up the more of those twinkly bell sounds and kind of the rattling sounds of the foil. And then I also have installed inside the harp a tiny little condenser microphone that's made by this company called Shirtler, and they make a lot of acoustic pickups, and this is their harp version. So I'm running, 2 different streams through that. I don't know, is there anything else you want me to touch up on as far as an intro goes before I start playing?
No, I think that's great, man. It's great to have you here, and Steven's like really a big proponent of the new. Well, I would say new music, experimental approaches to, or extended approaches to harp. Would you say is that a fair way to describe it?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, sure. There's not a whole lot of harpists that are kind of going in the directions that I like going in. There's only a handful.
Okay. Well, Steven, thanks again for being here. So Steven's going to play for a little bit. He's also going to share a screen. If you want to go ahead and share a screen, Steven.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, let me set up my mic first.
And then hopefully when we get to the end, we'll have time for questions. Just while Steven's setting up, do we have any questions or anything? Anyone know any good jokes? I'm committed to making these meetups online as informal as possible and less serious, but useful. But anyway, Steven is sharing. I think I'm ready to be quiet. All right, Steven, give us a level if you could, just a little bit of audio, just to make sure we're.
All right, one second.
You'll want to bring up your master channel again. Muted applause. Stephen, that was wonderful. Can you hear us? Stephen? Can you hear us, Stephen? Or did that move you so much that you can no longer speak? Interesting. I think you might have to turn up your mic again. Or you were using one mic before. I like Greg's call to Devin that he needs to build the spring reverb for the next meetup. Devin, it's expected. We need to figure out your mic because we want to hear about what you just did.
Can he just switch everything to built-in and just use his
Yeah, could you do that? That's too easy. Go to Zoom preferences and then change your audio input to your built-in microphone. Stephen, please.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear any of you.
Okay, well, we can hear you now. Okay, well, we can type it. Speak into your mic.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes.
All right. Well, you can type some questions if anybody has any questions. Okay, Ableton setup. So let's go back to screen share. All right, so like I was saying, I have let me stop some of this processing. All right, so like I was saying, I have two different mics set up. The internal pickup is running into harp, and then the looper, and then I have 4 separate clips that I was, that I was looping shorter segments in. So now the harp is completely quiet throughout. I'm just using that to feed directly into the looper. So there's a setting in the looper itself for the input to be able to go through to the output, and I have that set to never. So that's and so the reason why I'm doing it this way, I find it's extremely valuable when I'm recording this to be able to edit these improvisations and to be able to edit these improvisations. And so I don't want, to be able to hear that at all. And so what I find is, extremely helpful, being able to record that, being able to record this track in particular. Let's say I bumped the harp, which I did earlier, bumped the harp, and I am able to essentially edit that out. I can cut out the part that I don't want, especially if it's, if I never actually hear it. The only time I'm hearing it is when it's running into the looper itself. Now I have the looper set to really, really long delays, and I was kind of changing around the feedback level. So really long delays, like maybe somewhere between 20 and 30 seconds, and gradually changes. And so there's a couple different options there. There's an overdub feature. So each iteration just adds a new layer, and then previous layers will go away, and that's based on the feedback itself. And so, I kind of had it at various levels. I had it as high as 90 to build up, kind of these bigger, gestures of layer. and I kind of had it, come all the way down to somewhere around, I don't know, 20 or 30 to kind of counteract that, to offset that, to kind of thin things out as well. Now, with that stuff, it was pretty much running constantly, and I had something similar with the mic right here that I had picking up the bell sounds and the tinfoil sounds. Very similar setup over here with the same thing, the mic running directly into the looper here. And I was also, which I was also playing around with the feedback as well. And so in order to, I had to turn off the mics and the harp mic in order to pick up some of the other sounds as well. And so that's kind of what I was doing. I was turning them on and off. I was arming and disarming them to then be able to record these clips. And I was using that with this EBO on the wire string to create those swelling, swelling tones. And so I was kind of playing around with that, with those kinds of elements. And I was doing that all with, let's see if I can pull it up in a second here. Here we go. So I was using this Novation Launch Control XL, which is like a MIDI mixer. And so I have that each track on Ableton mapped out to a different track, to a different channel on here. And so I can fade things in and out here. I can arm, I can disarm, I can mute, I can do all those functions. There's some knobs up there that I can designate to certain parameters like panning and and feedback time and delay time. I wasn't playing around with that too much today, but a little bit here and there. But I find this is really, really great for stuff like that, especially when I'm dealing with all those different subtle instruments there. It's really easy to turn something up, turn something down, and change things around with this. Now I guess I will open things up to questions. I'm not really sure why I can't hear anybody, so I don't know what the best way to conduct questions is. Let me see if I plug directly into my computer, if that helps.
Can you hear me now, Steven?
Still don't think I can hear anything.
Steven?
Hey, okay, so I guess I'll open things up to questions, and I guess we're going to be typing questions in the chat.
Let's see.
Zoom preferences.
Give that a shot, Steven. Not that he can hear me.
Yeah, I still don't think that's working. I can't hear you, and
yeah, okay.
Looks like you might be talking.
Yeah. Say nice things, don't worry. Okay, so for everybody else, what I'm going to do, if you have any questions for Steven, I'll go ahead and write them.
I got it.
I
can hear everybody now. Yeah, success. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know how awkward that was, me not being able to hear anybody. And but anyway, let's carry on.
So everybody from this point onward just saying nice things about Steven. Okay. All right. So what was it, Steven? I'm curious. What was the issue? It'll help us plan for future technical problems.
Yeah. So I moved the headphones from my audio interface into my laptop, and I had to switch a few different settings, both in Zoom and on my actual Mac system preference.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
okay,
I did both the headphones and not just the one.
So cool. I think that a question that kind of disappeared up the chain came from Devin. He Googled you and saw that you use visuals when you perform, or you have visuals when you perform, and he was wondering if the question is, do you use Ableton for your live visuals?
I've never run my own visuals. So I've collaborated with visual artists who do video kind of work, but I've never actually done my own.
You don't
So
send like a MIDI sync or anything to it?
no, I've never done that.
Okay. It just
All I
seemed,
did-
I watched a quick video. It seemed like it was pretty synchronized. That's what I was wondering.
was that off of Vimeo?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, that was a really cool show. That was for a festival in Indianapolis several years ago, and so there was somebody who was doing live video processing right there, in response to my music, and so
Oh, okay.
that's probably why things seem to sync up better.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Stephen, I'm wondering, because you come from, you went to Mills and, you very much mastered the instrument. Do you think that, does Ableton lend itself pretty well to creating kind of ambient experimental music? Clearly it does, I think, to some degree, but have you tried to venture into the world of like more virtuosic playing with something like Ableton?
Yeah, I have. So I was doing a lot more with live processing in my undergrad than I really did in grad school. I kind of had more of a stylistic shift. And so my undergrad, I went to Bowling Green, and there, I was doing a lot more with Max and things like Max for Live and that kind of stuff. And that all definitely, the seemed to handle those things sort of a little bit better. At least the Max components involved in it. And I don't know how many of you are familiar or have used Max, but I think that's a lot of fun. It's not really what I do right now expressively, and in a lot of my music right now, I tend to not cover up the harp itself. I never want to mask it. I never want to lose the idea of the harp always being there and being in like the forefront. And so I tend to use effects that are more compositional, like temporal kind of based things. So these long delays, things to bring in events and take out events, more than actually like adding effects on top of the harp. Because I think the harp, I try to let it speak for itself.
Cool. I think Mark Fife, Mark, are you an alum of BGSU? Yeah, cool.
I did study with Dr. Lilios.
Don't be shy, Mark, if you want to chime in. If you want to stay on text, that's cool too.
Oh no, it's cool either way. Yeah, it's just a small world. I didn't really work in that department, but like John Fielder, I took some like recording technology classes, so it was always with John Fielder and Dr. Lilios. So
yeah, I know John Fielder pretty well too. Yeah, he was a grad student.
Yeah.
Maybe my last year of my undergrad, maybe my last 2 years of my undergrad.
Okay.
Yeah, I know him pretty well, and now he's living out in the West Coast now.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. I didn't get a chance to talk to him that much, but like of everybody who taught the class, like he just was always like getting really into the nitty gritty of stuff, and he just knew everything really well. So that was always cool to see. Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. Having come from that department as well.
I was a BG alum of 2005. That was when I got out.
Right. Did you study with Dr. Lilios?
I didn't study, but it was definitely happening when I was there. The new music scene at Bowling Green is really big. So, I mean, if anybody ever wants to go check out some like new music concerts, just take a look at what BG has programmed on their website when things are back to normal, or even if they're putting up remote things, because you will not be disappointed if you like new music. They do like everything under the sun over there.
They have an annual, maybe it's a 3-day new music festival every fall. I think maybe in October, and they have some big names in in academic music, but not only in that sphere, but also in things like free improvisation and in general kind of experimental music. All of it's encompassing sort of genres, and everybody from let's see, in the recent years, they've had like people like John Luther Adams and George Lewis and David Lang. They put together really, a really fantastic festival there.
Stephen, what do you find most challenging about using Ableton with a harp?
Wow, that is a really good question. What is the most challenging? I think I always kind of want to maybe having this idea of like clarity within my own setup here, but also, I feel like that translates into the music itself. But, sometimes there's more than one way to do something, and they might have similar results. But, figuring out what the best way, the cleanest way, the easiest way on your, maybe even on your CPU, is kind of a struggle for me, especially with right now in this age of live streaming. I have had trouble streaming performances with Ableton just because it just eats up a lot of CPU usage. I'm in a bit of an older computer here, and so sometimes if I'm not running things the most efficient way, that sometimes can't really end up working at all sometimes, but even, have the best result. I've been doing a lot of stuff in OBS, and OBS is a pretty hefty program as well. And so, kind of running several things simultaneously can be pretty taxing on my computer.
I think you have a very, well, not unconventional, but interesting way of using the looper. And Mark was interested in the looper. He was asking about it as you were playing. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. What was your question, Mark? Did you write it in the chat?
This is my first time seeing looper ever. So at first I thought it was like a Max instrument, but I only just recently upgraded to 10 live. I've been on 9 standard for ever. But
Gotcha.
but yeah, if you could just like walk through how you use it. I guess the other aspect that I was curious about after realizing how it overdubs is do you feel like looper is informing the sound, or do you feel like you like I'm sorry, I like totally phrased that wrong, but do you feel like looper is informing the sound, or do you feel like there's a particular sound that you want to push with the harp and looper happens to be that tool, if that makes sense?
So I do a lot with effects pedals, like hardware pedals, as well, and I kind of go back and forth, as you've seen Ricky kind of use both at the same time, and I do quite a bit of that. And I have this Boss DD20, this Giga Delay, and I really like it because it has just these monstrously long delay times, something like 20 seconds, and so that's in effect what I'm trying to recreate in Ableton, and I think the looper is the closest thing for that. And so, with that delay pedal, I use it more as like a looping tool that changes. It allows change over time and kind of a more dynamic, and than just, recreating the same thing over and over. You lose things over time as, and things build in. And so Looper is great for that, but Looper is actually, it takes it even further, because I don't actually know what the time limit is on Looper. I'm sure there is one, but I can have it way longer than 20 seconds. I can have it minutes long and kind of have just, these really kind of abstracted, kind of soundscape sort of atmospheres with Looper that I can't really get with maybe a normal delay object in Ableton or something else. And I really like Looper. I think it's really good for that. It's really flexible. There's a lot of options as far as as far as the signal flow goes. You can kind of have that that original signal, the dry signal coming in at different at different stages as far as like record and playback and and pause. And so there's a lot to really play with. But I pretty much just kind of, for me, it's more of like a set it and forget it sort of thing, and then turn it off to add other elements around it. But it's kind of a set it and forget it kind of tool for me that kind of just creates that constant atmosphere that builds up and goes away. There's some other features on here too, like you can change the speed. There's a reverse option. You can quantize. I mean, there's a lot of really cool functions with Looper. Is that helpful?
I think so. Ken, you got any questions for Steven?
No, I've just been flipping back and forth between the YouTube page and everything over here to make sure we're not missing anybody.
If anyone's interested in looping generally, there's a whole online community called Loopers Delight. I'll type that in. And it's like thousands of people all over the world who like create these live looping festivals, and they have a Facebook group too. So if you like dig that approach, if you're interested in it and want to see how other people are using it with a different instrument or different software, there's a ton of different looping software out there. Check it out. I'll through the website too. So you got it.
What I find really fascinating is having several of these loopers going on at once and having them have different speed, or not different speeds, different time lengths. So then you create events kind of by happenstance, so like if something's 20 seconds, the other one's like 22 seconds, and then they kind of rotate at their own at their own speed, and really, really interesting things can result from that.
I got really kind of fed up and frustrated with trying to keep everything metered. So I just like using Looper to cluster weird tone combinations. I just like it to sound pretty, well, effectively granular and less kind of constrained to 8th notes or 16th notes or whatever. It's good for that kind of stuff.
You posed the question, if I think that Ableton lends itself to ambient music real well, and while it does, I think maybe something that takes it a step further. I think it lends itself to these kind of organic kind of approaches to creating music. With as far as time goes, I don't see time as a constraint in this. I don't use it as any like traditional tempos as anything to latch onto, and it's really easy to kind of take that out of the equation entirely.
Yeah, that's cool. Any other questions from any of you folks that are still with us?
Yeah, I got a question. It's definitely a very interesting setup. I'm just curious, like, have you, I can't see, I guess, like the entire thing of it, but I see, you've got the fan, you've got some things attached to the harp or the fan. Like, have you gone through like iterations of different objects, like affecting the fan or the harp, or you've used something like in place of the fan? Like, have you used other things?
So I've used plenty of things attached to the harp for these sort of things, all kinds of material, everything from, mylar and paper and, different, I have a couple different kinds of bells on here. And, each thing kind of has its own textural, its own kind of timbre to play around with. And I kind of see that as kind of a different piece. I kind of want to limit each sound world to just a few different kind of textures there. But it definitely sounds more metallic, with the foil and with these bells than with something like paper would. The fan, it makes its own sound. It definitely creates this lush drone that you hear, throughout that. It's pretty subtle. It's pretty quiet, and that's another reason why I like using the looper, because I can build these layers of that, and kind of create this much lusher, much more vibrant version of that than just any one single layer doesn't quite accomplish. So the fan has that's its primary function, is creating that drone. And that was also I was trying to recreate, if I bring the harp outside, it's even slightly windy, the wind will play the harp, and it creates these that same effect, those same sounds. And so that was I first introduced the fan to recreate that. And then the bells and everything else was in addition to that. I've attached things to the fan itself, as you asked. Things that like little streamer sort of things that articulate the strings. But mostly this kind of setup where I have things dangling, suspended on string, seems to work about the best.
Nice. It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
I have a question kind of related to that. So we were talking in chat about spring reverb, and I've seen like those in action where like you can hit a certain resonance with these springs and they'll go nuts. Like, have you ever tried like I know like if you have a snare drum that's tight in a room and you hit a certain bass note, it rattles like crazy. Would a harp, do the same thing if you had some speakers blasting like a specific resonance frequency?
Yeah, it does. So even right now when I'm talking next to the harp, I'm hearing my voice kind of resonating inside the soundboard. And that's kind of what you're talking about. One thing that and kind of in a more extreme version of that, if I wasn't playing, I'm playing directly into Ableton, and then Ableton's going directly into Zoom right now. But if I was playing this loud, into the room itself, something that I'm constantly worrying about, especially with these, more quieter, more subtle sounds that I'm playing with, is feedback, and so that's reinforcing those certain tones, and that's something that I'm constantly trying to fight when I don't want it. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it is what I want, sometimes I just live with it and play around with it. But in a situation like this, I have my mics turned particularly hot in order to create these sound worlds. It's kind of bordering on kind of this almost, yeah, I mean, just these really kind of minimal sounds. And so even with that, I can hear, I don't know, I'm sure you might not notice, but I can hear even the shuffling of my feet on the on the floor, or me bumping into the harp ever so slightly. I mean, just those things pick up as subtle events in the music. And then with the looper, you don't end up hearing it that same way, because it comes back over and it comes back over and it comes back over, and so it sounds less like a accident, less like a wrong note. It just sounds like more of the texture itself. But do I have a compressor on the mic? I don't, but I have plenty of stuff kind of EQ'd to kind of eliminate a lot of those sounds. So I kind of have a narrow focus for each of these clips.
Cool. Any more questions for Devin? I'm sorry, Devin, Steven? God, I'm just conflating all you FP creative people.
We're different people, I think.
I know you are. Sorry.
I think there is a Devin in attendance here too.
There is a Devin. That's why probably that made it worse. My apologies. Any more questions for Steven? No. Steven, I just want to say thanks so much, man, for making the time. That was a beautiful performance. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to present what I do, and this is a really cool opportunity. Yeah,
it is our first attempt at a remote Ableton user group, so I really appreciate your time and being a part of that. And I don't think it went too bad.
No, I mean, but not without hiccups. So of course, obligatory, tech difficulties. But hey.
Oh, we figured that out. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It's all learning curve, so it's fine. I'm not sure when we will do the next one, but I would like it to be relatively soon. If anyone, it's a requirement for live demo. What? Oh, the technical difficulties. Yeah.
Well, Ricky is performing tomorrow night.
Yeah.
For this organization that I help run. It's a live streaming series. I mean, currently it's a live streaming series as everything's remote. But it's kind of we have programming that blends contemporary classical music, experimental music, ambient, drone, all kinds of stuff. Even some noise artists. And tomorrow night is our final concert to round out this. Actually, a little bit over a month. 5 weeks of this weekly series. And so tomorrow night will be the last one, and it starts at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And yeah, tune in. We broadcasted over Twitch, and Ricky has he supplied the link in the chat there. So thank you for that. So tune in 8 p.m. tomorrow, and here's some dulcimer through Ableton. Right?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I give you a little preview of it, I guess. Yeah, we'll see. Should be fun. I'm looking forward to it, mate. Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And also Ken performed, I think it's worth stating, Ken performed a solo trumpet set and processing in the previous concert.
Absolutely. Yeah, two weeks ago. Was it? Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Did a fantastic job.
Thanks.
That was beautiful. Very, very angelic. You know, with
Unlike
the
my personality.
horn and everything, and just like this sheer atmosphere.
All right. Well, folks, thanks so much for joining us today. If you got any questions, post meetup, shoot us an email. You can get either myself or Ken, Ricky at deltasoundlabs.com or Ken at deltasoundlabs.com if you want to reach out. We'll hopefully schedule another one of these in about a month's time. Obviously it's day to day at the minute, but this was actually great. And thank you all for making the time to join us. And hopefully see you soon. Be safe and make music and have fun. Yeah, nice to meet you all. Nice to meet all the new faces and names. Take care.
All right. See you guys. Take care.
Yeah. See you, Tim. We'll
Thank
be in touch
you
shortly.
again.
See ya.
Good to see everyone.
See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Justin, how's it going, man? Are you trying to exit?
How's it going?
You're good.
I was trying to hit the buttons.
You're trying to leave?
Yeah, well, no, are we not? Are you?
Yeah, no, we're going to close it off. Yeah.
Okay,
I
yeah.
was just saying, hey, I thought you were hanging around, but no
Oh,
worries.
no.
Good to see you, dude. Take care.
You too. Take it easy.
Bye. I thought that went pretty well. I can stop the live stream here. Good.